Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Well, I've been telling you for a while now that you better be prepared for some real food problems here in the United States and around the world. Increase in prices and lowering of the food availability, and we're starting to see more critical signs of that just in the last few weeks, and I just want to bring this to your attention and encourage you even more. I know I'm putting the pressure on you, but it's for a good cause to get out there and produce as much food as you can and to stock up while you still can, because the timeline that we have of being able to stock up may be a lot less than we think. Of course, you all are aware of, everyone in the world's aware of, all of the egg problems. The prices of eggs have it's ridiculous. You know, I'm seeing prices of, anywhere from $13 to $17 for 18 eggs. I mean, eggs are basically, getting close to $1 an egg. The shortages, we're seeing stores put limits on the amount of eggs. And of course, there's all the talk of the lower egg production for the small producers, the backyard chicken, hen layers, that the companies are quite possibly altering the feed so that, your chickens just don't lay as much. That's been all in the news and it's been covered by many people, but there's a whole lot more than that. Just a couple of weeks ago, I talked about how one of the largest fertilizer producers in the planet, not just America, but the planet, had issued a warning of a global food crisis because they're saying that fertilizer availability and supplies is going to be way less this year than even last year. And that was a pretty hot topic last year, of the availability of fertilizer. I know a lot of the farmers around here that I spoke with, the bigger farmers, were saying that it was just way too much. It was outrageous. One guy that I know personally, he's a pretty large hay farmer here in this area. That's really what he produces a lot of, several hundred acres. And he said that it was just astronomically high, that he could only get a fraction of the fertilizer as compared to what he used to because he couldn't afford it. Well, we're seeing more of that, and it doesn't look like it's going to get any better. The USDA this week issued a report that said the beef cattle herd here in the United States is the lowest level it's been since the early 60s. We're talking 70 years. The beef cattle herd is the lowest it's been in 70 years. This is due to drought, due to the fertilizer increased costs of last year, where farmers just couldn't afford to feed their animals, so they had to cull large amounts of herds. You remember months ago when there were all kinds of videos and reports of these sale barns that were just jam-packed full of people trying to sell their cattle? Well, we're seeing the repercussions of that, folks, and we're seeing a lot less animals that exist. Another report was issued that the hay availability, the hay stock, the stockpile of hay in the United States is the lowest it's been since the early 70s. Now, is this an indicator that cattle is next on the chopping block? I mean, they have been killing chickens by the millions. We're talking nearing 60 million chickens have been euthanized over the last year or so here in the United States for the claims of some kind of chicken cough. And we're seeing the rapid depletion of food supply in the United States because of that, as well as many other factors when it comes to vegetables, the other types of foods that we eat. We're seeing a major depletion of it. And then if you add into that, the global things like the war with Russia and Ukraine, where a lot of food comes from those areas, not necessarily to us here in the United States, but certainly around the world, we're seeing what appears to be a purposeful depletion of food here in the United States. I saw just the last couple of days that I believe it was the Netherlands had reported a case of mad cow disease. Now, I am not starting any kind of conspiracy here, but is it possible that cattle are the next on the chopping block? Are we going to see some disease outbreak in cattle? I don't know, but I'm telling you, folks, it's not looking very good when it comes to food. And of course, we all know they don't want us to eat it. They want us to eat the bugs, not the meat, the bugs. You know, we've been told for years now by the overlords at the World Economic Forum that eating meat is just bad. It's bad for you. It's bad for the environment. And in the future, you won't be eating meat. It'll only be just an occasional, very rare, small amount thing, you know, for a very special occasion. Now, of course, the wealthy, I'm sure they will continue to have their prime ribs and their hamburger and their pot roast. But for you, the little peasants, well, you don't get that because they're cutting back. There's been all kinds of reports in the news over the past year of downsizing, consolidation, destruction, burning, unusual things happening in the meat industry, whether it's producers, farms, processing centers all over the nation. And so we are seeing a what I believe is purposeful destruction of the meat industry in the United States. And you add that to a very, very low cattle herd and the very likelihood that this year is going to be even worse on feeding them. The farmers' costs to feed their cattle is going to most likely increase even more, considering an even smaller amount of fertilizer, higher prices of fertilizer, and a lot less hay on the market. I mean, if you can't afford to keep the animal alive, what's your choice other than to cull it? And it's not being replenished. So we're going to have to expect to see an increase in food prices, especially when it comes to meat. It is happening, and it's going to continue to happen, and we need to get ourselves ready for it. This is very serious. The powers that rule the world have said for a very long time that, you know, if you control the food, you can control the people, and that's exactly what they're doing. They want you eating mealworm flour, bug cricket flour. They want you to eat lab-generated, created meats and other foods. It's all been on the news constantly. And I said a couple of weeks ago, it's almost daily that you can find things in the news in regards to eating all of this abomination of food that they're trying to force down everyone. And then, of course, there's all kinds of talk and planning of putting, you know, altered DNA kind of stuff into a lot of this food that they're creating. So, folks, bottom line is you better be real serious, very serious about food production. I've been talking to the people here locally in our group that this has to be a very, very high priority for us. Between food costs, the food availability, and the very real possibility that the day could come very soon that the food that's on the market isn't even something you want to eat because of the altered DNA or what's been injected in it or implanted in it, or the fact that it's just a bunch of, you know, lab-created bug meal or something like that. There may come a day sooner than you think that you just don't want to eat what's on the market, even if there is food available. So, folks, you've got to be serious about raising animals, about, you know, egg production, chickens, sheep, goats, cows, pigs, rabbits, whatever you eat. You've got to be really serious about, you know, producing vegetables, your gardens. I've been saying this for 2 years now. Every time you plant, it should be viewed as the time that you have to really depend on it. What are you doing to expand the amount of food, produce way more than you think you need, because I assure you, you'll need it. It takes a lot more space and a lot bigger garden than what most people think to really truly live out of it. And it may come a day pretty soon that that's exactly what we have to do, that your choice is to either starve or to, you know, bow down and eat the garbage that they're putting out. And most of the food now that's being produced is garbage. I strongly encourage you to grow your own stuff and then to work with people around you other growers that are local, that are trusted, and that's going to be the thing. Just because someone produces stuff doesn't mean that what they're producing is trusted. I've seen some articles over the past few months indicating, not proving, but indicating that they're trying to work around of putting this altered mRNA stuff in food and still being able to call it organic. So just because someone claims that they're producing organic food doesn't necessarily mean it's truly, natural. And we're going to have to be wary of that. It's going to get to the point that even if you buy food outside of your home, it's going to need to be from a really trusted source, I feel. And so this should be taken very, very seriously. You put a lot of focus on this in your life of producing as much food as you possibly can, because there does seem to be a war against food right now, especially natural food. And with the cattle shortage, with the hay shortage, with the fertilizer shortage, egg shortage, chicken shortage, I mean, it's just expanding exponentially. And then, of course, all of the other natural foods that we eat, whole foods, that we're seeing just being attacked left and right. And then, of course, that's not even taking into consideration the things that the weather does. And who knows if that's all manipulated or if it's just a coincidence. Truth is, folks, is you've got to get serious about this. This needs to be a high priority. If you're spending all of your time, focusing on buying the tools to defend yourself with, I mean, that's a good thing to do. But if you're not spending any time on how to grow food, produce food to keep you alive, then you're out of balance in your priorities. I can't guarantee you that you'll ever actually need to use a weapon to defend yourself or your home, but I can guarantee you that you will need to be eating, and you'll need to be eating every day. And it takes a lot, folks. It really does take a lot to live completely out of your garden and off of your property. A lot more than most people realize. The little backyard gardens really isn't going to cut it. You need to figure out ways, do research. There's all kinds of tips online from various different people that's done it of how to produce as much food as you possibly can. And then you just need to practice. You need to get good at it, whether it's animals or vegetables. You need to know how to produce food and then, of course, preserve it, because there is definitely a war against food. And 2023 has all the signs and signals of being a pretty rough year when it comes to food. And then, of course, on top of that, I was reading, I believe, the emergency SNAP program, the food stamp program. They had added to it because of all the COVID stuff. So people were getting extra, and it looks like that's coming to an end this month. So there's a lot of people in the United States that are getting less money to go towards food, which means it's going to be struggling for a lot more people. Folks, right now is the time to get your houses in order. This is serious. Food is very serious. You need to be getting prepared mentally, physically, and spiritually, and getting out there and producing lots and lots of food, because the day is coming probably sooner than you think that you just can't get a hold of it. Folks, thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.